So now, next up, I would like to introduce our national director with the People's Party, and that would be Zaynab. And she has a lot of experience in reference to electing candidates and candidate campaigns and everything that goes into that. So I thought it might be nice if she were just to share with you all what it takes. You know, what do we have to look at if we're going to be running? If we're going to be running, let's say, a commissioner's office or whatever in 2022, what is that going to compose of? What do we need to do? How do we do it? And so, Dana, take it away.
Hey guys, can everybody hear me?
Yep.
Yes.
Well, hello, Florida. So when it comes to campaigning, I guess I can hop right in. Thanks for the intro, Elise. So when it comes to campaigning, I'm sure there's probably some folks on this call who maybe have done campaigns before, who have worked maybe different components of it, from call time to comms to field or different areas. When it comes to campaigns, there's a lot of different things to look at. You want to start with finding a good candidate, a solid vetting process, having that in place to kind of know, and also sort of looking at what your accountability structures are going to look like to make sure that, their platform and their alignment is true to heart with what you're fighting for that seat in that district, in that area, whether it be from a local seat all the way up to a federal seat or a gubernatorial race. You just want to make sure that the person that's one of the main aspects, is just making sure that they're true to heart and really getting to know them before officially endorsing them as a party. The next would be building up, your field plans, finding out sort of what it's going to take to win, getting your vote count numbers, having an idea of what the district makeup looks like. Is the area rural? Is it urban? What are the demographics here? What are some of the major issues? And finding someone local and bringing on local people to work a campaign is always really important before you start looking at, let's say, consultants. I always look toward, people that are local and then consultants to advise, but local folks to really work campaigns so that, the folks who are doing your messaging, the folks who are organizing, the folks who are creating these plans really have an idea of what the people in the community are asking for, and then bringing on different components of the team that you would want to bring on in a campaign. You'd want to have communications. You'd want to have, and you can also look at voter drives, voter registration drives. You can kind of look at actions that you guys are planning. Things like that can also fall under similar frameworks that supporting candidates fall under as well. But you want a really strong field person that understands how to cut turf, that can tell you what your voter win number is, can sort of estimate that. You want to look for areas, with potentially a high number of, folks that you can switch over with the voter registration, new voters you can reach out to. How much of that would you need to do based on your win number in that area or for that particular seat? And sort of understanding how you're going to reach voters, what that area looks like to reach those voters, because some are rural, some are urban. The makeup for each seat is different. So having a strong field person early on is really important to help set the game. Making sure that, you're garnering ballot access for the candidates. You guys have statewide party access now, which is amazing. And then, there'll be different ballot access measures for each candidate. For instance, I remember I ran, I helped a few Florida campaigns. I worked with Mike Hepburn and Charter Richardson and some others in Florida in 2018. And then I worked with a few candidates in 2020. And I do remember that Florida, like for federal candidates, for instance, had a really had a high ballot access signature rate compared to a lot of other states. For a fundraising, you know, you had to fundraise so much and then pay for ballot access. It was one or the other then. So understanding what's coming down the pike with the Secretary of State and remembering that sometimes what they did, you know, the last election cycle isn't always what the next election cycle is going to look like. Looking at your tools, like what kind of fundraising tools do you want to use, what platforms, who are your comms people, finding skilled people to do comms that are seasoned in it, press. So you always start out with volunteers, but the idea is sometimes it's harder in smaller campaigns, but the idea would be like with larger campaigns to eventually bring on staff because people work full-time doing campaigns and sometimes volunteer full-time. We know all about that, right? I've done that so many times I can't even count. And so getting people like a campaign manager that can be dedicated to the campaign is really important and somebody that the candidate trusts and works well with. Making sure that you're always speaking to the people. Some of the things that we'll be doing, you know, at the People's Party National to really help support the states is we'll be doing rolling communications trainings. We'll be doing rolling field trainings to help with things like, you know, Todd already does great trainings on things like power mapping, for instance.
Hello?
We lost her somehow.
Oh, okay.
Zaynab. Well, while we're waiting for her to get another connection, I don't know what happened to her. While we're waiting, does anyone have any questions as to what she's reviewed so far with us?
I have a
Hey guys, I lost you all for a minute. I'm sorry.
There you go.
Yeah.
I was reading a lot, so I'm sorry if I'm giving if I'm talking too much and somebody wants to step in and add to anything I'm saying, please do. I get way too excited about
Zaynab, I have a question. This has
yes.
to do with the beginning of your speech. As far as candidates running for offices through People's Party in the future, do you guys have any criteria what the fundraising should and should not be? Like, do you have like banning corporate money, banning lobbyists, which is another term for bribes, dark money, or just anybody can fundraise, raise funds any way they want to, and they become a candidate because they accept People's Party agenda? Do you have any of those criteria?
Oh, heck yes. No corporate funds. Our candidates are expected not to placate to corporate lobbyists as well. You know, we as a party have also discussed avoiding, you know, super PACs in the future. So those are essentially corporate super PACs and denying their support because the candidates don't really have control over that, but denying corporate super PAC support and calling them out if they try to support some of our candidates, and then holding our candidates accountable to that. So that means that, you know, if somebody runs on our slate and they start taking that money, it's our responsibility as a party to call them out. You know,
so their fundraising exclusively is going to be through grassroots.
Yes, and it is possible to run grassroots campaigns and win. It is possible to organize, and do that. That's a barrier that I know a lot of people see, but I've seen it happen. And I've only worked one non-small dollar grassroots campaign when I was in college. But every other campaign, and I've worked a little bit over 100 of them, have all been small dollar progressive campaigns. Some of them have been independent. Most of them have been primarying other Democrats. When I was working with those individuals. So it has been, it's been a lot of the two parties will do everything they can to throw everything they can at us, just like they did the progressive candidates that I was working with. It will be an uphill battle, but it's very possible to organize and win, especially local races, all the way. And once you are running local races, you can really build up support for federal candidates as well.
Bernie was an example of it. He was a proof of it, yes.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely. Bernie is definitely proof of that. But we've also seen without accountability, you can end up with candidates. I mean, I worked for Cori Bush and Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, and, you know, their affiliation with the Democratic Party. And I worked with Brand New Congress. There was no, unfortunately, that group, I was with them for 4 years, went away from holding candidates accountable to their promises of the slate and to their promises to stand up against, you know, against all, to stand up for things like Medicare for All and other platforms that they promised to stand up for, and their alignment now recently with super PACs. And so we see what happens when there's no accountability in the movement, and we need to have accountability at the People's Party for our candidates. So that's going to be, that should be baked into our values within every state and our values at national. We see a candidate corporate money, we should call it.
Yes, the reason, Dana, I asked that question, because to me that would be the beginning of the end. When somebody runs for a position and the People's Party support them, they start getting dark money and corporate money. I mean, 2, 3, 4 years ago, the same organization becomes like another Democratic Party. That's the reason we don't want them. We don't want to be involved with them. We want a new ways. We want new agenda. We want new organizations, because we want to get rid of the oligarchy and not be owned by them anymore.
Very good.
I agree, but candidates can run. Candidates will be, we will be able to officially endorse candidates, but candidates will be able to run on our ballot line whether we officially endorse them or not. But the candidates that we endorse as a party, we support as a party, we have to hold to those standards. You asked me if they wouldn't take money. Absolutely. Those are the standards we're going to set as a party. And we're going to say that candidates have to hold to that standard. And if they don't, we will have to call them out, because that is how we hold accountability. We will have to hold them accountable. That's what makes us different. That's what would separate us.
And that
no
will
accountability.
Be transparent.
Also,
and
the fact that we as an organization, right? I'm sorry,
and that will be transparent. Am I right? If a candidate accepts money, dark money, or gets a connection with corporate money or lobbyists, that would be transparent for People's Party to let everyone know publicly.
Yes.
All right.
Of course. We do that now. We do that now to progressive candidates, but we would
that
absolutely.
Is very important.
Okay. Yeah, definitely.
Thank you.
Yeah, right. We would definitely do that in the future. Do you guys agree, Elise?
Yeah. So, did you want to say something?
Yeah, I have a couple of questions. Will the party be running federal races in Florida?
Okay, Nelson, we can't hear anything you're saying. There's so much noise in the background. Can you put your question in the chat, and then I'll share it with us, okay?
Yeah, sure.
All right. So the other thing, Zaynab, is that we have some folks who currently are running as NPA for the 2022 in various capacities, various seats. And so what would be your suggestion as far as our group going and trying to figure out, who out of those NPAs we want to endorse?
Oh, so they're already running as Movement for People's Party?
No, they're NPAs only.
Oh, what does that mean? Can you tell me what that means?
Non-party affiliate. So they're non-party affiliate.
Okay, I got you. I thought
you said NPA too.
I do have vetting procedures and stuff, and I would love, actually what would be great is if we could sit down and have a training on vetting and things that I've looked for in the processes I've used. I've got a document. I have I've helped to vet more than 100 candidates and recruit candidates. Some of them were amazing. Some of them were disappointment. But I think that I, through the years, have found a lot of red flags, things that you can look for, ways that you can tell what support they have, certain things like power mapping, also where are they running and what kind of ties do they have to their district or to their seat, like how well do they know it, how much have they worked in the community, where's their heart at with the issues, are they running to get their face on a billboard or are they running to actually do something. Also, like looking at what kind of teams they're building out and what kind of campaign infrastructure, which absolutely we can help with. But if a candidate is already running, I kind of see where they are in that process and how far along they are in their campaigns before, you know, sort of deciding on support or not, so that we can see what kind of campaign they're building up. And I do have, and I've actually already got these documents done, but I've got recruitment guidelines. I haven't finished them for the state training, but I would be willing, like, it would be great if you guys wanted me to sit down and like screen share and share those documents and sort of walk through the logic of the process and see if any of that's helpful for you guys. I would be more than happy to do that because there's a lot that I do within a vetting process, such as I do a background check. I look at, like I was saying, their support, what is their tone, what kind of person are they, and I have multiple conversations with them usually to kind of figure out who they are, and even sometimes like have it on a trial period before an official endorsement, build up those relationships so that you understand who they are. Looking at winnability is definitely a factor, but sometimes the winnability is in who supports them, right? So sometimes winnability can be the organizations that support a candidate that support them. So